reading again? Okay.
Good morning. And welcome to worship with Eliot Unitarian Chapel. In our sanctuary, in your home, and in the temple of the world, we welcome you. We gather to worship. I am the Reverend Barbara Gaydon, and I'm honored to serve as your lead minister. If you are new to us, we are an intentional community whose shared work is to welcome all races, genders, all sexual orientations. We strive to welcome people of all creeds and beliefs, all economic circumstances, and all types of families. Our vision is to create a just world through vibrant, beloved community. And you are all a part of that. If you would like to connect with us and learn more about our congregation, our greeters are happy to chat with you. And if you're joining us online, you may write to us. Please do write to us at welcome@eliotchapel.org. Now we still have 2 coffee hours at our church. We're serious about that. One is our online coffee hour on Zoom, and the other is what we've been calling the coffeeless coffee hour, except that, no, you were not hallucinating. You did smell coffee, when you walked in our building today. And that's because we are having a little party after each of our services celebrating the music ministry of Gail Hinz, one of our accompanists. And she's ending her service with us after 5 years. And we'll miss you. Yeah. After every service, we will have a small party, cupcakes, lemonade, and coffee. I hope that you will stay and honor Gail and just express your appreciation for her. And we're also asking you to keep your masks on when you're not eating, when every time you're in the building. Things are kind of in transition right now, I know, in the world, mandates and everything, but we're still asking people to stay masked while they're in the building, whether it's on Sunday morning or if you come by church during the week, have a meeting here, we ask everybody to keep wearing your masks. So we have a lot of vulnerable folks here, our babies, our older people, and our immune-compromised folks, so we're still working at taking care of one another, and I appreciate you for doing that. Welcome to Eliot Chapel. So our opening words and our chalice lighting are from Hildegard of Bingen. Fire of the Spirit, life of the lives of creatures, spirit of sanctity, bond of all natures, glow of charity, lights of clarity, taste of sweetness to the fallen, be with us and hear us. Composer of all things, joy in the glory, strong honor, be with us and hear us. And come, let us worship. Our opening hymn is With Heart and Mind, number 300, or its words are on the back of your order of service. Please rise as you're willing and able and sing with us.
Hello, my name is Lynn. Please join me in our Unison reading of our church covenant printed in your order of service. As a free congregation, we promise to one another our mutual trust and support to create beloved community We promise to be kinder to each other than we have to be, to listen fully to each other with an open mind and heart, to speak responsibly and respectfully, to find ways to improve our church for all members and friends. Thank you. Good morning. In honor of Earth Day weekend, here's a poem titled "The Song That Nature Sings," and of course, Penguin Choir, I chose that one. It's by Lynette Jenkins. Have you ever chased the wind? Can you tell where it will go, where it's been? If you could see the earth through its eyes, do you think it would come as a surprise that in everything there is music? A melody, a bit of song, though it may not meet your ear, if you could tune your heart to hear, you will recognize and sing along the song that nature sings. Isn't that beautiful? Well, that's how I feel about Eliot. It lets each of us explore and sing our own song and share it on our spiritual journeys together. Hello, fellow potential pledgers. Come out, wherever you are. Eliot, she says, is the name of a star. Yes, Eliot's been my star in the universe of acceptance. Hello, my name's Lynn Murphy. Been attending Eliot since the 80s. I became very active in the women's movement, becoming a chapter president in the local national organization for women, working hard for women's rights. That's when I discovered Eliot. There were women also here working for the same issues. They were very supportive, so I found a home. It's provided a source of acceptance. I came out here at Eliot at a time when I was afraid to do so. I helped the church on its path towards becoming a welcoming church where all are accepted. Like the song, "This Is Me," I know there's a place for us, for we are glorious. I'm not scared to be seen. This is me. That's why Eliot is important and needs our support, so we can each be seen and accepted for our true selves. Eliot offers a place to explore spiritual beliefs, express beautiful music, provides great youth and young adult programs, provides covenant groups, and much more. So, in conclusion, Eliot is like a starship that needs our pledges to continue its journey. Please consider pledging what you can to help us continue to offer all these great things and help the starship continue its journey. Like my poem says, Starship Eliot. Welcome aboard. We are part of the voyages of the Starship Eliot, whose mission is to become a beloved community. We welcome all aboard our starship, no matter your race, creed, faith belief, sexual identity, or financial circumstance. Our captain leads us on our journey of exploration. You are welcome to join us as she leads us with compassion and wisdom and faith. Our crew is guided by our 7 principles. The first one is that we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. This includes you. So come aboard our beautiful starship Eliot and enjoy exploring many worlds of spirituality, social justice, and others as we travel together, bound by compassion and loving spirit. In conclusion, like Yoda would say,
"Be brave, Jedi, and make your pledge today. Be a brave pledger."
a pledge card's in Adams Hall. Here's mine. Please join me in pledging what you can. Thank you, and here's our starship, Eliot.
Thanks, Lynn. That was really fun. So our service today is a little bit different from the way we normally do it. We're going to have a lot of different voices rather than just one person preaching. And it's about our spiritual journeys. So if I ask UUs about whether when they've had a spiritual experience, they seem pretty comfortable in answering. People describe a great variety of things, like a feeling they have when they're walking in the woods, or a sense of awe when they're visiting the Grand Canyon. Maybe it's a sense of wonder when their children have been born. And occasionally it is at church. It is for me, certainly. I remember the choir doing Handel's Messiah for Easter a few years back, or pretty much every time our youth have led worship, and their reflections are just so moving. But these tend to be one-time events, and that's okay. But how do you grow in spirit? As we talk about in our mission, you see that on the top of your order of service. Our mission at Eliot is bound by courageous love, growing in spirit, and inspiring compassionate action. How do you grow then? Well, you got to practice. And people get a little less comfortable and maybe just kind of squirmy when I mention spiritual practice. That's like something that nuns do, right? Let's see how that pertains. A lot of people don't really think they have a spiritual practice unless maybe they're a serious yoga practitioner, or maybe they think if they spend many hours a day in meditation. But spiritual practice is a lot broader than that. It's anything you can do regularly that allows you to pause, pay attention more deeply, center, and connect with something beyond yourself. So gardening can be a spiritual practice. So can bicycling or writing in a journal, regularly writing a gratitude list, making art. Now, similarly, when I ask people about becoming a UU, they will often describe a particular experience or a moment. Maybe it's when they first came to worship, or when they discovered the 7 principles and they felt a strong resonance with them. Or maybe it was a real sense of kinship with people here, or acceptance from people here at Eliot. And they think, well, these are my people. This is what I am. I'm a UU. So then how do you grow in that? How do you grow as a Unitarian Universalist? And I think this too would require something that you do regularly. Now, Lynn Murphy described the deep feeling of acceptance she's experienced here at Eliot, but I know for a fact that she offers that same acceptance to others here, and I would call that a practice. If you really want to grow at something, it helps to set an intention and to do it in the company of others, with people who are also trying to develop that habit, that practice, and failing and getting busy and feeling guilty and forgetting and then coming back together and starting again. And that is kind of the dance of the practice. This year, a small group of us came together to do all of these things. Spiritual practice, to deepen our sense of being a UU, and listening to one another. Listening was a huge part of everything we did. This is a group called Wellspring. Our focus was on the UU sources. The sources kind of go along with the principles, but we don't really pay as much attention to them. They are how we capture some of the different ways that people experience the sense of the sacred. It's like Jewish and Christian teachings, prophetic words and deeds of our heroes, world religions, the natural world, etc. And in this group, we studied those, and we read and we watched videos and we listened to music, and we committed to a spiritual practice. Worked with a spiritual director and shared a lot with each other, including taking turns leading the group in a practice of their choice. And we shared how being a UU applied to some of the harder parts of life. And we did all of this by Zoom, I have to say, and I was surprised and so pleased that that actually worked really well. I'm very proud of this group. I'm very proud that they took the risks together, that they listened. And we did this in part so that we could grow a group of leaders so that more groups like this could happen at Eliot Chapel. So in this service, you will hear some of the group's reflections, their favorite readings, and sample some spiritual practices, like reading poetry and coloring. Yes, I said coloring. And you can see for yourself how a few of us did this, how this worked for at least this small group of us at Eliot in this last year, how we grew as UUs. This is one way of doing that. Next week, after both services, we are going to have kind of an informational meeting about the Wellspring program that will happen next year. And if you're intrigued by this, I hope that you will join us at those meetings one of those meetings next week. But in any case, I know you will be richer for hearing what they have to say today. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Amy Carre, and I am going to lead you in my spiritual practice, which is coloring. And so if you did not receive a coloring sheet or crayons, I know that they are at the doors for anyone if you would like to participate. I love to color, and I was a teacher, and my children love to color, even the high school ones. And I hope that you enjoy this experience. I really like meditation. I would like to be good at meditation, and I am not good at meditation because I move and think too much. So this is really helpful for me. This coloring is meant to be a relaxing and meditative experience for you. If, while you are coloring, your old art teacher's voice is whispering in your ears to stay in the lines, try to block them out, or just pick a spot on the page that doesn't have lines and do your own coloring there. So this is about the experience and not the actual end result. Maybe you can hear me better now, sorry. So let's start. Pick a coloring page or a blank page that you want, and just pick any color. No judgment, no planning, just picking. As you start moving that crayon along the page, just notice and wonder how the page goes from white to that color. How is that color transferring to the page? There's no right or wrong way to do it. Look at how the lines are moving. Are they going in a circle? Are you going up and down? How are they looking on their page as you color? Listen to the sound as you color. Listen to the sound it makes as you move that crayon across the page. Can you smell the crayon or the paper? If you have a mask on, it might be harder, but at home, crayons definitely have a smell. Even if you use a marker, there's a smell. Pay attention to the smell. Feel your muscles in your hand and your arm as you color across the page. Are you pressing hard? Are you pressing soft? Try changing how you color. Try holding the crayon in another way. Maybe you're going to use it on its side. Maybe you'll switch hands, have a different grasp. How does that change the color on your page? How does it change the muscles in your hand and your arm? When you feel compelled, you can change colors. But continue to notice how it looks, how it feels, how it smells as you color the page. Now pause and take a look at your picture as a whole. Without judgment, what do you notice? What do you like? What don't you like? Is there anything you can change? Is there anything you can't change? If you feel like changing something in your page, do it. Or you can just continue to color. When you find you are done coloring, stop. Doesn't matter if others might think the picture is not complete. That's not what this is about. This is about your experience. It's nobody else's. I hope that you continue to enjoy coloring at home, and I know that sometimes it's hard to stop, and feel free to continue.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Figline, and last fall, at the beginning of Wellspring, we participated in a retreat facilitated by Reverend Linnea Wilson. After she and all of us discussed possible spiritual practices, Steve Menerick commented that the practice of mindfulness to get through the pandemic seemed selfish, as it was practiced alone. After a moment of silence, Linnea asked, "Does this practice change the way you show up in the world for others?" That question was our answer. This morning, I'd like for us to be mindful about, to pay close attention to Rilke's poem, A Walk, on the other side of the order of service. First, I'll read the poem aloud. Then I'd like for each of you to say the poem softly aloud at your own pace, in your own cadence, in your own way. After that, there will be one more step, and I'll explain that when we get there. A walk. My eyes already touch the sunny hill, going far ahead of the road I have begun. So we are grasped by what we cannot grasp. It has its inner light, even from a distance, and changes us, even if we do not reach it, into something else, which, hardly sensing it, we already are. A gesture waves us on, answering our own wave. But what we feel is the wind in our faces. Now, will each of you please read the poem aloud, softly, to yourself in your own way? This won't be a unison reading. We'll all be reading at different paces, so. Now, go to the line or to the words that particularly resonated with you. Repeat them and let them rest with you for a while. Perhaps, as these words linger with you over the next hours, they will help expand the way you show up for others in today's world.
Good morning. Great to be with you. So, as part of our Wellspring sessions, we were encouraged to explore and deepen our UU identity. As we've heard already this morning, we have our 7 principles, and we have 6 sources that drove some of the lessons in the Wellspring curriculum. The 6th and final source is about the importance of earth and nature-centered teachings. I must say that as a scientist, a biologist, I've always been a bit skeptical of that source. I'm not sure that beliefs should be tied to the natural world, which is observable and can be objectively studied. So again, as a scientist, I was surprised when for our Wellspring readings, I opened a website on naturalistic paganism and found a quote from the late Carl Sagan, an astronomer. The quote was from his book, Pale Blue Dot, A Vision of Human Future in Space. The quote begins, "In some respects, science has far surpassed religion in delivering awe. How is it that hardly any major religion has looked at science and concluded, this is better than we thought? The universe is much bigger than our prophets said, grander, more subtle, more elegant. Instead, they say, no, 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 my God is a little God, and I want him to stay that way. A religion old or new that stressed the magnificence of the universe as revealed by contemporary science might be able to draw forth reserves of reverence and awe hardly tapped by the conventional faiths. Sooner or later, such a religion will emerge," end quote. Well, Dr. Sagan, I think I found one.
Won't you sing with us? Our next hymn is Come, Come, Whoever You Are, number 188, or if you're going by your order of service, the words are on the back.
Oh
Every week, we share our offering with a local organization that shares in our mission and helps to promote our values. In April, we're sharing our collection with Immigrant Home English Learning Program, or IHELP. IHELP empowers foreign-born adults by providing individualized in-home English language education. Please do give generously. If you're here in our building with us, you can give old school, you can put something in the basket, or there's a QR code on your order of service. And if you're giving online, please just see the giving page on our Eliot Chapel website. Thank you for your generous gifts. Will our ushers please come forward? And won't you join me in reading the dedication words in your order of service? To the work of the church, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings. Thank you. Now the service went going a little tiny bit longer than I thought, so I'm not going to read this next reading by Sarah Smalley. I'm going to privilege the people who are sharing their own reflections with us today. So.
In Brene Brown's TED Talk, The Power of Vulnerability, she describes a group who feel very worthy. They feel they have a deep sense of love and belonging. Vulnerability is the basis for these feelings. Because they embrace vulnerability, the willingness to let go of who they think they should be in order to be who they really are, they have the courage to live authentically, vulnerably. This way of being brings joy, creativity, belonging, and love, and self-compassion and connection. Connection is neurobiologically a part of us. Our ability to feel connected is why we are here. Vulnerability is the root of connection and compassion. By being compassionate toward ourselves, treating ourselves kindly, we are able to treat others kindly and compassionately. During discussion of this TED Talk in Wellspring, I learned a strategy for responding to others who may make a deprecating remark about blacks or LBGTs or immigrants. Vulnerably and compassionately respond, "Can you tell me a bit more about that?" Or, "What do you mean?" By starting a conversation aimed at understanding, we may learn something, and we may sway an opinion. To close, I'll leave you with the comments at the end of Brene Brown's TED Talk. To let ourselves be seen, deeply seen, vulnerably seen. To practice gratitude and joy in those moments of crisis when we're wondering if we can face the challenge. To be able to stop and say, "I'm just so grateful," because to feel this vulnerable means I'm alive. And finally, she thinks the following is the most important: to believe that we're enough. Because when we work from a place that says, "I'm enough," then we stop wondering and start listening. We're kinder and gentler to the people around us, and we're kinder and gentler to ourselves.
Good morning. Many of you know I grew up in this church, but I never really thought of myself as spiritual or religious in any real sense of either of those words. Mostly because I don't really believe in God. Honestly, I pretty much come for the companionship and sense of belonging. Granted, great sermons, music, awesome social justice program, wonderful staff, these are all great bonuses. But sometimes when I'm sitting where you are, or up here on the chancel with my fellow choir peeps, I hear something in a reading or a sermon, and I feel a sudden clutch in my heart and a flood of emotion. Still, it didn't occur to me that those feelings had anything to do with my own spirituality or religious beliefs. I can be a bit obtuse about myself. So when Barbara invited me to join this first cohort for Wellspring, my automatic fixed way of being was to say, nope, not me. That's for religious people. In fact, I was a little put off she even asked because she kind of knew where I stood on the God thing. But I'm a pleaser, and when Barbara asks, it's hard to say no, especially when you're on the search committee that brought her here in the first place. Well, I put the start date on my calendar thinking I'd find a way to wiggle out of it later. But as life happens, I forgot to do that. So when the first session rolled around, I found myself in the group. Not gonna lie, I was pretty confronted by the first couple of sessions, but something tugged at me to stay in the conversation. And as I've gotten older, I've learned to listen when the universe speaks to me. Over the weeks, we became a tight-knit group as we listened and shared with each other. And I slowly came to cherish our work as we explored the different aspects of our UU sources. And through these sessions, I came to realize that when I sing a certain hymn or hear a powerful story, I'm often gripped by a sense of wonder or joy or enlightenment or sorrow, and sometimes all of those things at once. Yet I find those feelings are followed by a deep sense of oneness with the rest of you Elioteers and with the universe at large. So although it's still hard for me to own up to becoming a spiritual person, I'm profoundly grateful to Wellspring that I didn't miss out on this realization. I'd like to share something that really resonated with me from our recent session on forgiveness. The prep materials, yeah, there's a little prep to do for this. The prep materials for this session caught my interest immediately, and I eagerly started writing on the discussion prompt that starts with, "In my life, forgiveness, da 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 da." While composing this, I soon realized that I actually forgive almost everyone who's done something to harm me, except for my father. I'm thinking there may be a few of you here that knew Nelson Marlowe. He was brilliant, a self-taught engineer, lover of music, which is good because with Mom in the house, there was a lot of that. Best of all, he turned me on to skiing. But he was a difficult guy to live with. He and my then teenage brother were always at odds, mostly because they shared common traits. My relationship with Nelson was okay, but it went south when he suddenly divorced Mom when I was living out in Colorado. After that, he and I were on tenuous ground, which we never really resolved before he passed away. But just this past winter, I found a box of letters from him and other members of his family and promptly sat down to read them. Now I'm telling you, there's some wild stuff on those pages. Suddenly, I realized I had no understanding of him or his family, whom he never talked about. Also, I realized I'd probably judged him a bit too harshly for not being a great parent and spouse. So when our Wellspring group got to the forgiveness session, it opened up the opportunity for me to forgive my dad and his family for their behaviors. Now, I'm still working on forgiving myself for holding him accountable for our own family trauma, but I'll probably get there too. One of the coolest things I learned from this session is called the Forgiveness Project. This is a collection of stories from both victims and survivors, and from perpetrators of crime and conflict who have rebuilt their lives following hurt and trauma. In addition, they've developed and sponsored the Restore program. It's a group-based intervention program that supports prisoners in their process of change towards not re-engaging in crime. Check out their website. It's well worth your time. The project teaches that true forgiveness is first and foremost a personal journey with no set rules or time limit. And it's not always a singular act, but sometimes a continuous process. We may all benefit by starting our own forgiveness journey. Just know that this is life work. I'll close with something that the Unitarian minister Kate Tucker said in her 2010 sermon on forgiveness. We are all fragile people, and our work around forgiveness is last and vast. But before our time on this planet comes to an end, there are really only 4 things to say to our people. Thank you. I love you. Forgive me. I forgive you.
Hello, my name is Carol Glauser. So my experience in this Eliot's Wellspring pilot group, as we called it, has increased my time spent in a deepened sense of wonderment, interconnectedness, and unity with all that exists. Perhaps that's easy to do wandering around in nature surrounded by trees. But what about this bristly world we're in? This undertaking has led me to slow down and create moments of stillness to investigate, examine, to experiment with what it means to be human, to be spiritual, to what it means to meditate, to pray, to wonder about it all. There's not a single thing that happens on this giant web we are all weaving together that doesn't put us to the test of being entirely in awe at how interconnected, never ever separate, and wholly interdependent we truly are. I have found that I can no longer look at anything and think that it is not, in some way, a part of the oneness, a part of me. In one of our reading assignments, A Hidden Wholeness by Parker Palmer, he references a Mary Oliver poem, which happens to be a favorite and speaks to this sense of wonderment and interconnectedness. I'd like to share it with you. When Death Comes by Mary Oliver. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright colors from his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut, when death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering what it's going to be like, that cottage of darkness. And therefore, I look upon everything as brotherhood and sisterhood. I look upon time as no more than an idea and consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy and as singular, and each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending, as all music does, toward silence, and each body a lion of courage and something precious to this earth. When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened and full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world.
I just want to say thank you to all of our Wellspringers that shared with us, with each other very vulnerably all throughout this year and shared themselves today. So thank you. We will close by singing hymn number 318, We Would Be One. Rise, please, as you are willing and able. Please remain standing for the closing words. Now may the love which heals all wounds, which overcomes all differences, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us, now and always. Amen. Please be seated.